Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm sorry for all that. I'm trying to open my VS Code for a while. I don't know what's going on. It keeps shutting down. So, I gave 12 minutes to be sure that everybody is here, but none of you all showed up. You're still on zero, one view. Yeah, thank God. Finally, somebody viewed. So, in our last class, we treated how to work with inputs and inputs tag. So today we are going to go on a brief detour and treat style sheet. Remember our first project that we worked on, that we tried to write a page to uh, talk about ourselves. Yeah, that page. I'm coming. Let me open it in a bit. Sorry about that. Okay. So I don't know why my VS Code is messing up, but okay, let's wait for it a little bit to show up. So for the meantime, once again, welcome you guys to today's classes. I know we wasted a little bit more time, but you guys are always late to the classes, like always late. I don't know why, but anyways, that's by the way. So if you can hear me, please send a message through the chat box so I can know you guys can hear me properly. So please, if you can hear me properly, just send a text across so I can know you guys can hear me properly, please. So please send a text across the chat box so I know you can hear me. So apart from that, what is wrong with VS Code today? Apart from that, I gave you guys some project to do uh 2 weeks ago or so, and none of you did the project. Only one person did it, and I was happy that at least one person did it, but I expected more, to be honest. I expected more of you guys to do more stuff, but okay. Emmanuel Ofore, thank you for saying you can hear me. Okay, that gives me a go ahead. I should go ahead. So let us get this thing started. Sorry, my VS Code is just messing me up again today. Of all days. Okay, it's loading up. So Emmanuel, thank you for saying you can hear me. At least you came to class, even though you are 14 minutes late. But that's not the point, anyways. So I don't know what's doing this thing. Beg hold, Jerry. No one was doing VS Code, just to misbehave since today. Hopefully, it will be back to normal. So today we are going to treat CSS, Introduction to Style Sheet. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. That's the full meaning of CSS. It stands for Cascading Style Sheet. At the beginning of this class, I gave you guys an example. I told you guys that a web page is like a human being, where the HTML is the skeleton, the CSS is the body that makes it look beautiful, and sorry about that. It's calling me. Sorry, you guys. Somebody called. So back to what I was saying. So HTML, a web page is like a human being, where HTML is the skeleton, which is the structure. CSS is the body, and JavaScript or any other scripting language is the brain. So in our case, we've treated HTML. That means we've done with the structure, though we are still going to go deeper and deeper into it. But for now, let us treat style sheet. Let us see how to make our page beautiful. All right, so you guys are not meant to see this is my project I'm working at, my personal work. Okay, this is what CSS kind of looks like, but we're going to treat that in a bit. So furthermore, um in our case, we are going to use our projects. Remember, we named it index.html. This guy. So let me increase the font size. So there are three ways you can add a CSS to your file. First one, they have what is called inline CSS. They have a head CSS, and then they have uh, a reference CSS. So I'm going to show you the difference between all of them and which one comes in hierarchy. So now, when it comes to CSS, the browser first of all looks for the inline CSS, just like this guy here. This is a CSS tag. We've been working with it all along, and we had no idea that we were working with it. So this is an inline CSS for height for image. So when it comes to a browser, the browser will first of all check for inline CSS. If it doesn't see anything, then it will check for the style CSS, the head CSS, which we include here or anywhere in our web page. And then if it does not see anything, it will then look for a link one, a referenced one. So in our case, we are going to treat the one that comes with this guy, the one we put here in the head, and the inline CSS. So let us start away. So first of all, we are going to start this work so we can see it over the browser, so we don't have to keep refreshing and refreshing and refreshing. And yeah, one more thing, please, I expect you guys to do projects. For the love of Christ, you're not paying for anything. You're not paying for these classes. You're not paying for any other thing. All I ask of you is to come to classes, attend classes, and then do your projects. That's all I'm asking of you. Do the project, so I will know, I'll be able to track where you are. So I'll be able to know if I should use another method in teaching you guys, or I should keep on with the method I'm using. But you guys are not helping matters at all. You all are not doing projects, you're not going to classes, nothing at all. And to be honest, that kind of makes me feel sad, actually. It hurts me, to be frank. But anyways, that's by the way. Let's continue with our classes, and then let's see what's up. Okay, so this guy went to open in a new browser. So let's open here. What happened? Okay, it should be here. Okay, yeah. This was the project we were working on before some of these things, before we went to using input tags. So if you have been following the classes, you remember when we treated h1, and then we treated image, then treated hr, which is horizontal row, and then we treated bold tags, italic tags, and underline tags. Then we treated lists. This is an ordered list, and this is an ordered list. And then again we treated table, and we treated how to increase the call span and the row span of a table. So I don't know, for those of you that have not been following to classes, that's your loss. But for now, let us go ahead and continue what we are doing. So now we are going to style this page, and we are going to make it look beautiful. So like I told you guys earlier, let me start a new so I can type something in here. Control N. Yeah, okay. So you're not just going to select any language. So now, like I told you, that CSS stands for cascading style sheet. That is what CSS stands for. So in our case, um, they have a hierarchy where on how the browser processes the CSS file. First of all, it looks for the inline CSS. Then it looks for a header CSS, which the one you will find in your header, or yes, the one you can put in your header or inside your browser body, inside your code body. And then it looks for a referenced CSS. The reference CSS is the one that is not included in your file. It is somewhere else. So you have to reference it at the head of your CSS, at the head of your HTML here. You have to reference it at the head here for the browser to be able to read it. Remember, I told you guys at the beginning of this class that the browser does not show the user anything that's inside here except for this title and the icon of the site. So now sorry, so now let's continue. Let us start with inline CSS. So to do an inline CSS, all you have to do is you come to the element and then type style, then type style, then type equals to, and this comes in here. So can you guys see it? So now we want to change the color of this text. We want to give it another color or something we want, so we use color, then you do this guy hyphen, and then you write the name of the color you want. So in our case, let us make it red, and then you put this guy, so you save it. So let us go back to our browser and see what's up if our text, the h1, changed color. So let us go, okay, it's refreshing. Let's wait for it to refresh and then see if it changed color. So yeah, can you guys see it now? The h1 changed to red. So this is pretty much about it, about inline CSS. So now we are going to do the head CSS. Now to type to write your style in the head CSS, all you have to do is use the style tag, this tag. All you have to do is use the style tag, and whatever you write inside this style tag, the browser will see it as a CSS. So now that brings up to another topic, what we call pointers or tags in CSS. Okay, they have a generic naming convention, because we have to be able to reference those elements in our CSS, and there is a way we can name those elements. So we can do that using a class or an ID. So a class or an ID is they are unique CSS generic naming convention that we give to our elements, that helps our browser to target the particular element that we are trying to style. So they have a generic one, which some of them include your body tag, head tag, which is h1, h2, and whatever, and every other tag. So like now, for example, we can also reference this h1 here by just saying h1 and then writing the code. So now, did you guys notice that we have to put these curly braces here? This curly braces is what tells the browser that I want to apply whatever it is that is found inside these curly braces to this h1. So in our case, we are going to style the color of h1, and I'm going to show you guys something to demonstrate about the hierarchy of how the browser treats our CSS files. So now let us say we say h1 and set the color to be blue. Now the browser will not see this guy here, rather it will see this red color, because this red color has a higher hierarchy in our naming convention than this h1 that is included in the head. Remember, I told you guys in the first place that the browser will first look for an inline css, which is this one now, and if it doesn't find an inline css, it will go to the head and look for an external css, which is this one. If it doesn't find it, it will now go for a reference css, which we'll treat later in our next class. But for now, we're just going to focus on this external and inline css. So let's go to our browser and see if the h1 actually changed to the color of blue. Right, you guys see the h1 is still red. So when we go back here now and delete this guy, you guys will notice that the h1 will turn back to a blue color. So let us see that. Okay, the browser haven't refreshed yet. Okay, it's refreshing now. So let's wait and see. Okay, yeah, exactly. Now you guys see it now. This about me went blue instead of red. That is because the hierarchy of a css, it looks for the inline css, it didn't find it, and then it went ahead to look for the external css and then applied the attributes to this h1, which is our generic naming convention. So now that you have seen what a generic name is, let us go ahead and give it our unique names. So I told you guys about the two types of unique names, which is class and ID. So first of all, we are going to start with class. We are going to start with class and then see what class is all about. So now to give our css files a class, we are just going to write inside the elements like we wrote here in the style. We are going to write inside the elements. Okay, let us use this image. It's a clean, clear example for that. I'm going to just write class. That's just it. This is what you need to write in order to give your element a unique name that you can use to target it in our css. You write class equals to, and then give you whatever name you want. So in my case, I'm going to write it my pics. So you can name this thing whatever you want. You can name it your name, you can name it whatever. But for professional reasons, I advise that you follow a strict naming convention that portrays what that element is about. So in my case, well, I'm going to call it my pics, because the element I'm trying to make changes to is actually my picture. So now let us target it within our head element, which is an external css. I think something is wrong again. Oh god, my system keeps hanging. Okay, sorry. I was trying to save a file which I don't want to save. Okay, so now to write to do something about it in our css, okay, what all we're going to do is to call up this name in our css code, and whatever style we apply to this name will be targeted to this image. Remember, you guys, I removed the inline css that this image came with when we were practicing about it. And if we go back to our browser, you guys can see that this image is quite big, like big. So we want to change this image to be a little bit smaller. So that comes to what we call height and width. So to do that, to call up that image element that we specified, you just have to add a dot my pics. sorry, click block my pics. So for classes you use dots, and for IDs you use hash. I'll show you guys how to use an ID in a bit. So let us practice the class method first. So now let us give this our image, let us make it give it a height and width. So now we do height and we give it 100 px, and then we do a width and give it 100 px. So let us see what happens if our image actually changed with the height and the width. So let us see. Can you guys see it now? This image looks a lot smaller than it was before. So can you guys see it now? Sorry about that, we have a little bit of network interruption, but we're good to go. So now this image looks a lot smaller than it used to, because we manipulated the style using our CSS. So now we want to focus on bringing these guys to the center. So let us use our, what is it called, our ID tag. Now I've shown you guys how to give your elements a class tag, and then we are going to use the ID next, so you guys can see how an ID works. So remember, when you are calling up the name in the class tag, you use a dot in the class tag, but in the ID tag you use a hash. So let us manipulate this text, which is the paragraph. Let's give it an ID, and then we give it a name. So remember, whenever you are trying to give your element a unique name that you can use to reference it in the CSS, you have to use either the class and or the ID. And when you do that, you put an equals to sign, and then you put your value inside a double quote. Do not forget, inside a double quote. Without being inside a double quote, the browser wouldn't recognize it, and your code might end up being buggy. So let us give this a unique ID. So in our case, it's going to be a paragraph about me. So let's call it paragraph 1. Paragraph 1. Yeah. So now, for us to reference it in our style, we use the what is it called, the hash, and then we call the name paragraph. Just like this spell paragraph again. Yeah, paragraph 1. Yeah, just like this spell paragraph again. Let me gonna cross check. Okay, I'm right. Okay, so now for us to give this paragraph our unique attributes, our unique styling, our own separate styling. So now let us change the color of the text. Let's say color, we give it a color of purple. Yeah, so let us see if it actually works. So let us go back and wait for the browser to refresh. Oh yeah, like you guys see, it changed a color to purple, which is not quite bright. So now that you have seen how to use an inline CSS, which is this guy, and an external CSS, which is this guy, this bunch right here, and then I taught you guys just now how to use a generic name, which is this guy h1. So now let me give you guys a quick one. So when you are using a generic name, all right, let's say you use h1 now, this generic h1, everywhere that a browser sees a h1 tag, what it's going to do is it's going to apply this attributes, going to apply this styling to every h1 tag that it sees in our browser, which is why in some cases it is not advisable, in some cases it is, but in our case we have just one h1, so we are just going to leave it for the case or for the sake of learning. So, and for classes, you use the dot before the actual name of the unique ID you gave, and you use hash. So this tell of the CSS that we are looking for an ID whenever it sees a hash. And can you guys see what happened here? It shows something up front saying element ID equals to paragraph 1. Can you guys see it up there? Now when you hover over this one, it's going to say a class, element class of my pics. So let us wait for, can you guys see here up here, it says element of class, it says here element class my pics. So it didn't say the type of element it was. So now it says, can you guys see it now? It says selector specificity. Tag the here. So it's just like a selector. We are selecting that element that has this class of my pics. So now in this one, it's going to say something different. Can you guys see it here? It just said h1 tag. Can you guys see here? It just showed h1 tag. Instead of writing an element, can you guys see it just showed h1 tag here. Instead of writing an element or giving you some sort of other things like this guy, like how this guy did, I said elements and then gave the class name here. This one is doing different, but this one is a generic naming convention and this one is a selector. We're using this one to select a specific element, just one or any element that has this name. So now let us go ahead and style our entire page, and let's give the page a background. After giving it a background, we are going to make the text to be at the center, and then we are going to make the text to have a different color. So now let us change where these are about me. It's going to be the h1. So now we want the h1 to be at the center of the page. So to do that, you use the attribute called text align, and then this guy, and this tells the browser I want you to align the text of this h1 to wherever I specify. So you have five options. You have the center, you have end, you have justify, you have left, and you have right. You also have start, and then you can use these other ones, but these 5 ones are these 6 ones are the more basic ones. So we want it to be at the center, so we're just going to use the center attributes. And then remember, you guys, now I forgot to tell you guys something. While giving elements a styling, first of all, at the left hand side is just like our HTML has this h1 image, which are pre-customed, which are custom a syntax. They call it a syntax. In our CSS we have these syntaxes. So this syntax comes at the left hand side, and then this double dot here, this column you guys see here, is like an equals to sign. It is assigning whatever that is on this right hand side to the whatever value that is on the left hand side. So after that, you have to put your semicolon. This semicolon tells the browser, okay, we have come to the end of this line of styling, so we want to cut it short and then go ahead to the next line of style. So now this guy is the syntax and this guy is the value given to it. So let us go ahead and save and go to our browser and see if our changes were made. Okay, can you guys see here, it's at the center now. This about me used to be here, but due to we specified and give it a new tag and said I want it to be at the center, it came here. So now I want the whole body to be different. Let us start the body. I want to be black. So I told you guys we are going to do a little bit styling on this our page. So now to do that, we use our generic name body. Remember, you guys, generic name is a name of any element that is on your browser, like the body, the h1, the image tag, and everything. I remember when you use a generic name, it's going to affect every element that has the same name. So now I want body to have a background of black. So I'm going to use the background attribute, a background color, which we are going to put to black. And let us save and see if it actually works. So when we do that, I go back here, I'll wait for the browser to refresh. So, oh yeah, how you guys see it now? It went all black. Everything is black. So you cannot see our text anymore because everything is pitch black. So we are going to go ahead and give the text color. Sorry, and give it a color of white. Remember, you guys, text color and color is different. Color targets the text inside the elements. Okay, but you guys see it now, it's all back to white. So now we want this image to come to the center, like how our text is at the center, so it will be easier for us to see our image and know it's about me. And we also want this image to be round. Yeah, so we are going to do a little bit of something. So we come to our image and we give our image a class of my pics. So we go to our css and look for my pics. Can you guys see it here? And then we are going to give it a border radius. Border radius is responsible for altering the shapes at the edges of the elements. For example, you guys see this square form here. Now the border radius is responsible for shaping these edges to however we want it. So you want it to be circle, so we are going to do border radius and we are going to use percent of 50%. 50% is going to make it circle. So in our, okay, you guys see it now, it's quite circle in shape. It's quite circle in shape. Ruth, why are you so late to the class? What have you been doing? Anyway, since you are late, you can always go and view it later. But I didn't fancy the fact that you guys are late all the time. It doesn't give me joy at all. I hate it. So now you guys see that the image have gone circle, and we want this image to come to the center here. This is where we want this image to be. So let us push it to the center. We use the same thing that we did here to put it here. So now let me tell you guys something. All right, let me tell you guys something. Once an element is declared, it's going to take up the entire space on your page. Like if you do not give a specific width and height of the element, it's going to take up an entire space. So let's just say that we give this guy a border, or we give this guy a border. Now what you guys will see, it will start from here and take to the other end of this place. So let us use this guy here to make our image to come to the center. We do here and say paste it here and save it. So now when we come here, probably we should get to the center. So let's wait for the browser to refresh and see if it works. Okay, I don't think it's going to work anyway, but let us see. Come on, you're taking so much time. Okay, it didn't work. We're still loading, sir. So okay, right guys, see it didn't come to the center because this image cannot actually act on its own. So we're going to have to manipulate it a little bit. So we're going to manipulate this image a little bit more for it to be at the center. So to tell you guys one cool thing about coding, about programming, it's versatile. You can shape it into whatever you like, however you like. So you might use one attribute to make this to come to pass, and you can use another attribute to make it work. That's why you're a programmer. You always have to improvise and make things work out the way you want them to be. So we can use an attribute that says align self to the center. I don't know if that's gonna work, but let us see. Say align self to the center. Probably this should work, and it didn't work. I guess our image is quite stubborn. So now we are going to introduce something they call position. The position allows you to manipulate the current position of wherever an element is. So they have three options for position. They have static. Oh yeah, Emmanuel. Yeah, you can actually use AI to generate codes. You can use AI to generate codes, and there are other tools out there to help you make things easier and faster. I will show you guys how to do that also, but to be to be frank, I prefer a classic way of coding. That way you can easily detect where your errors are coming from. Rather than AI generated code, uh, most of them do not work. Like some of the codes are not checked and they are not tested out, so some of them might not be as efficient as you think they are. But hey, you know what, I prefer you code it yourself and then test it out yourself and then debug it yourself. So let's go back to what we are doing. We are going to treat position. So now, as I was saying something, they have three positions mostly. So they have absolutes, they have fixed, they have relative, static, and sticky. So now we are going to use a relative. This relative attribute allows you to actually move the image wherever you want it. Then this fixed makes the image to stay there. Even if you scroll on your browser and whatnot, the image is going to still remain there at that fixed position. Then attribute is more like a relative but on a more scaled way, and I'll show you guys how attribute and relative are quite different. Static is just like relative, but they have their own different attributes, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So we're going to use relative for our image. This is not a full introduction to CSS, but it is for the sake of our project, which we are giving a little bit of building. So I told you guys that today is going to be a practical day and we are going to do some styling so that the class will be a bit more fun. I know you guys were getting bored, like when are we going to start doing the fun things? So I'm just doing this guys so you guys don't get bored with the classes. So now when you do an image of relative, you can manipulate the top, the bottom, the left and the right using those tags like the top. Let's give the top to be 10 px, and then we can say the right or the left. So this will push the image. This will give the image a margin from the left. So let's give it a margin left to be let us say, what we will call it, let's say 200 px. And when we save this our image is going to actually move 10 px from the top and 200 px from the left. So let us check and see. Okay, you guys see it used to be here and it came here. So there are other ways we can actually we can do this. Okay, Emmanuel, it's all good. The video is going to be there for you whenever you come back. Okay, so there are other ways we can actually get this to also work by using margin. So we are going to use margin and see how it's going to work. Honestly, I prefer you use margin because these guys, when you minimize the screen or something on a different device screen, is going to cause issues and bugs which you have difficulties trying to fix later. So let us show you guys how to use margin. So when you say margin, Just like when you are writing an exam, you see a side of the paper where it's ruled, and it will tell you don't write on this margin. It's the margin gives a space around the element, like a space around the element, pushes the element to some certain levels or some certain length. So they have a margin top, margin bottom, margin left, and margin right. This is the main four basic attributes of margin. Then when you use just margin on its own, it's going to give the left, right, top, and bottom of the same value. So let's say we use margin and give you a margin of 30 px. Now you guys are going to notice that it's going to move 30 px from the top, 30 px from the left, 30 px from the bottom, and 30 px from the right. So when we go back to our browser and refresh, can you guys see we moved a bit space from the top here, a bit space from the bottom, a space from the left, and these guys are just empty there. So when we remove these guys now, and so you guys will see the difference, and let's say Ctrl X to save it, and then we'll come back here and let's refresh. It's taking a second time. You are going to notice something. Okay, let's refresh, and you guys will see the difference. So come on, man, we are wasting my time. Oh, can you guys see the space underneath this image and this guy is gone because we removed the whole margin. So now, because we do not want a space under the image, we are going to use a margin left to push it from the left, and then we are going to use this guy. This is margin left, and then we're going to specify how many px we want it. So in our case, we want it to be at the center, so we're just going to use percent. This is going to push it 50% into the page. So however we do it is going to stay 50%, even if we minimize the image. Can you guys see it now? This is the 50%. This is the center of this whole image. So now, to be frank, we had a bit of space from the left here, so I'm just going to reduce it to 45, so it will be under our about me, so it will look better. So give it a 45, and then we come back here. Yeah, perfect. So can you guys see it now? We have our about image, our about me, and the image under the about me at the same center. So now we are going to introduce what we call padding. Padding gives a space around around the content of an element. Let's say we add a padding of 20 px in this our p1 now. What is going to do is going to add some space inside this element. It's going to push this element to come inside. That is quite different from margin. Margin just pushes the whole element and gives it a space around the body. But what padding does is give the contents a space from the main element. So let's put a padding on our text to make it look a bit nicer and come to the center. So we write a padding just like our margin. When you write just padding and give it an option, let's say 30 px now, what it's going to do is going to add a space left, right, front, bottom, and top. Can you guys see it now? It gave 30 px here, 30 px here, 30 px here, and 30 px here. So this is what the margin does. But in our case, we don't want all this space in our distance, so we're just going to use margin left and margin right, just like we did here in our. We're just going to use padding left and padding right, just like we did here in our margin. So we are going to put padding left to the 30 px. So that's going to give a 30 px space from here. Can you guys see it now? We have a 30 px space. So now, being that we don't want to keep adding 30 px to each of these elements, we are going to add that padding to our body, so that we have the whole padding left to be added to our whole element. So we're just going to cut this guy and then go to our body and put it in our body. So let's come here and save it and then save. So what you're going to see is going to have a bit of space in from the whole element ranging 30 px from this side. So let's refresh and see what's up. So thank you guys, Ruth and Emmanuel, for being here and consistent. I thank you guys. You guys don't know how happy it made me to see that two people care to come. So I'm so happy about that. Thank you guys. So let's wait for it to reload. And also this class will be ending in like 5 minutes because we've exhausted our 1 hour due to data subscription and all that. So we have to be cutting our time so we can be able to have data for other classes. So now can you guys see he added a space here, which is that padding. He added a space here, giving this whole guy an entire good look. So you have a padding from the left, which makes everything look a bit nicer now. So this is it with padding, margin, and text color and background. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to increase the font of this guy, which is our next, this guy. So let us see how we can achieve that and see if it's possible. Okay, yeah, I don't think we can do that because that guy is a broken image. Okay, so this guy is totally different from that guy. So to do that, we're just going to wrap it in a span. So like I told you guys earlier, a span is just elements for just, it just can contain anything in a span. So we just use a span so you can able to manipulate these actual text separately. So I use a span, we give it our usual class or name. So let us call it let's use class on this one. Let's call it a class of paragraph 2. So say paragraph 2. We already had paragraph 1, so we say paragraph 2. So you come down here and then we do dot paragraph 2. That's it. And then we give it a font weight. So font weight makes the text to be either bolder or just specifying how thick the font looks. So in our case, we want to make it bolder, and you guys will see what font weight does now. So let's refresh and come back here. You see that this guy will be thicker than the rest of the text in this browser. So let's refresh and see what's up. Okay, can you guys see it now? It's a bit thicker than the rest of these guys. I don't know if you guys can see the difference, but it's a bit thicker than the rest of the text in this browser. So I'm going to use the font size to make the text bigger. So we're going to go font size, and then let's make the text to be larger. So now we are going to save. As you guys see, it's larger now than the rest of the text. So as it stands now, we are going to stop here, and my next project to you guys is I want you guys to start starting from this UL and this table. I want you guys to style it, go back to the rest of to the classes from the previous ones, and then look at how we were able to manipulate the background of this guy and how we manipulated the text color of this and this. So in your case, I want this guy to be at the center here. I want this guy to be at the center here, and I want this guy to be here, and I want the table to have a different background color. So you guys, this is your project, and I need you guys to do this project and submit it. If you go to Discord, you find a channel that says your GitHub project. That is where you will drop the link to your GitHub repo after you must have done the project. Please and please and please, you guys are not paying for these classes. It's entirely free. They're entirely free. All I ask is you guys should do the project and submit, so I will be able to track your progress, so I know how to set my goals or how to change my teaching style. So you guys, please do that project. Once again, thank you Ruth, thank you Emmanuel for being here today and being consistent with the class. Thank you guys. See